I'm Dr. Melissa Longo. Welcome to Everyday Rockstar Moms, where every episode I'll interview moms just like you who are rocking it in their homes, raising their children, managing their households, building their careers, working on their relationships, dealing with challenges, finding success, trying to find balance, and themselves along the way. Every episode, you'll hear from women just like you of all ages and stages of motherhood, sharing their stories, life experiences, and leaving you with practical tips, ideas, and inspiration to help you rock your life. Today on the show, I'm doing something a little bit different. Instead of doing an interview, I'm going to leave you with some thoughts. The reason I want to do this today is episode number 10 has just launched, and in the continuation of building the show and inviting people on the show, I'm finding some very interesting responses from women. And I think it's important for me to remind all of you that in my mind, I will say 99% of moms are rock stars. And the challenge is that many of you are not seeing yourselves as that. But there's plenty of people on the outside looking into your life, looking at all the good that you're doing for your family, for yourself, and think that you are doing a great job. And if there are areas that you absolutely want to improve upon, well, there's certainly lots of people that can support you and help you along that journey. Today, I wanted to give you some more insight about why I think all moms are rock stars, and again, what this podcast is all about. And here's why. When I ask women to be on the show, 9 out of 10 women say yes. Wow, really? Me? You think of me? And okay, sure, it sounds great. Sign me up. They're all excited and they prepare for it. I send out the questions ahead of time. Women are excited to be on it. Those are fantastic interviews. They're heartfelt. They connect with the listeners. There's tons of great wisdom in them. 1 out of 10 people, or women rather, they hesitate. They feel awkward. They feel unsure of themselves. They feel intimidated. And sure, hey, we've all had days, months where we felt like that. And I just want to remind all of you out there, if you're listening to this, that if that's where you're at, if you're wondering, well, I couldn't be on that podcast, what would I have to offer? Or I'm not really feeling like a rock star these days. These are specific comments that I get from women in an email and a text, women who decline to be on the show. And keep in mind, I am excited to interview moms all across the world who are doing amazing things for their families. And I really want to highlight moms because I think so many times women's roles in their families or their roles in their families and their work life, if they're doing both, is no easy task. And women who are doing that need to be celebrated and honored and just that, not feeling that they should be doing more because, we could always be doing more. But what about celebrating exactly what you're doing right now and creating new people, creating healthy people, building relationships, building human beings? Why is that any less important than building a career or doing something amazing for, a corporation? Everyone's got different opinions on that, but I want to remind moms that if that's your chosen field, if you're choosing to be with your kids, if you're choosing to be with your kids and pursue a career that you love, that's fantastic. Let's support one another and let's understand and remind each other that when we're feeling challenged, when we're feeling like we're pulled in 100 different directions between giving time to our children, giving our best to our work, being engaged in our relationships, taking care of our own health, we're never alone in feeling that we can't pull it all together some days. And the whole focus of the podcast is to remind women, you know what, we are more alike than we are different. There's more commonalities in our day-to-day experiences as mothers than any of us tend to realize. I certainly see that in my practice every single day, which is a huge motivator why I want to start this podcast, because mom after mom came in and sometimes all in the same, morning, and they were all sharing the same feelings with me. And I felt like I could put myself on record and repeat the same little tips of inspiration, the little tips of, you know what, you're doing a great job. Your kids are growing, they're healthy, you're feeling overwhelmed. Let's see what we can tweak and change about that. But really, objectively, you're doing a great job. And, I feel that so many times women don't see that. They don't see their own worth. So if that's where you're at, if I were to send you an invitation to be on the podcast, I want you to think about what your answer would be. Because if you're thinking to yourself, oh, I don't know, what would I have to say? What would I have to offer other women? That really comes down to you valuing you, right? And you putting worth in what you're doing. And feeling good about yourself and knowing that no matter where you're at right now, if you've put your career on hold, if your marriage is on the rocks, if you're feeling like you need to lose some weight, wherever you're at, you're loved and you're still enough exactly where you are. Don't get me wrong. I think there's plenty of room for us always to be growing and evolving and getting better in every way, shape, mentally, physically, emotionally, spiritually. But let's remember that sometimes in the motherhood journey, we're going to have more time than others. And there's plenty of days where if you can just get a meal on the table and, rest your head at night, knowing that your kids are healthy and loved, that's going to be a great day. There are certainly times in my life when, regardless of what it may have looked like to everyone else, I didn't feel like a rock star. And still there's plenty of days today where something happens in my life when I might feel like I'm tired, or maybe I have an argument with one of my sons, or I'm feeling maybe like I'm not 100% present and there for my husband, or I feel overwhelmed or excited, by the tasks I want to complete. And I wonder when I'm going to have all the time, and I'm someone who, I have work that I absolutely love, work that I don't even consider working most days. But still, I get tired, I get overwhelmed. I wonder how I can fit everything in. So what do we do? So for some of us, that's just our nature as women. That's part of our personality. But I remind myself, what's my objective today? What's a priority? Okay, maybe today's just a busy day. Tomorrow's going to be different. And if you're having a day like that, when you feel like you're not doing enough for your family or your work or some other part of your life, know that you likely are. The goal of this podcast is not to highlight the people who are doing everything perfectly. If you've listened to any of the episodes so far, you will hear women say, yeah, I struggle with guilt, or I wish I had done this differently, or I was really scared about this. But you'll also hear them say, that was a pivotal shift for me in my life. That made a tremendous difference in how I raise my children. I feel better about myself. I feel better about the place I'm in. I'm more able to have a loving relationship with a spouse right now. Women have shared really real stories. And if you can relate to any of them, then that's a good thing. Some personalities are going to resonate with more than others. I will tell you that every single guest I have interviewed has taught me something. They've given me some kind of perspective, whether there's someone who I might be friends with off the podcast or not, who I spend a lot of time with. Maybe that's just because our lifestyles aren't really in sync. It doesn't really matter. I've gained something from each interaction that I've had. And so I encourage you to keep your mind open with every episode that you listen to, because sometimes the people whom you might not think you connected with at all are the people that absolutely can teach you something really impactful for your life. Now, the second reason that women would say they do not want to be on the podcast is they feel intimidated. Sure, they're afraid of sharing something vulnerable. They're afraid of being judged. They're afraid of sharing something about their life history. Sure, now some people are not as comfortable being recorded, in front of a microphone, with the possibility of hundreds and hundreds of people listening to what they have to say. I understand that. But I also believe that, nothing cool happens in your life if you just stay inside those little four cozy walls that you've defined for yourself. So, that so-called comfort zone. And, even just today, I saw two girlfriends, two women that I know personally, and I said, I've got to get you on the podcast. And they both looked at me, with a little bit of anticipation or intimidation in their eyes. And I said, I know what you're thinking. I said, you're a little bit nervous. They're like, yeah. I said, well, just do it anyway. And they said to me, well, that's just how you live your life. I'm like, it is how I live my life. But I will say that I've made so many mistakes. And, I use those as benchmarks when I want to move forward. There's starting a podcast is terrifying. I mean, sure, I've got a TV show. A lot of people see the TV show, but they're only in my community. They're not across the whole world. So, sure. And on the TV show, I have not shared, the story of my marriage ending and what that taught me and some of the other details that come up in conversations with other moms. I mean, that's not available on my TV show. So, although that was one leap of faith and one jump for me, a podcast was a whole other adventure. All you can do is try things, right? And laugh at yourself and enjoy the whole process and what you're going to learn out of it. If this is where you're at, if you're feeling, and it might not be with regards to the, being on the podcast, because some of you are listening to this and I've never even met you yet. I would love to meet you. And I would love to have as many moms as possible on this show. But if I haven't met you yet and you're hearing this right now and you're thinking, oh, I would hate that. I wouldn't want to do that. That's okay. Perhaps with time, by listening to some of these other moms, you'll feel inspired and empowered to share your story. But I encourage you in the meantime to do one small thing that takes you out of your comfort zone, just to challenge yourself and show yourself that, you can do something that you're scared to do. My boys, your kids are listening to you when you don't think they are, right? Recently, with the TV show, now my TV show is taped. So if I make mistakes, and believe me, if my producer ever releases the blooper roll, I'm in trouble because I'm a goofball sometimes and I make mistakes and I swear and, I'm laughing at myself because I'm feeling so ridiculous that I'm not doing it perfectly because of course I want to do it perfectly. But anyway, hopefully by listening to some of these stories, you're going to understand that we all make mistakes and none of us are perfect. And hopefully you'll realize that by pushing yourself into something that might be a little bit scary for you, you're going to be able to find some joy in that. You're going to be able to find a little piece of yourself and maybe take yourself a little less seriously. And that might help you move forward in other areas of your life as well, which might then support you as a mother, in your relationship, in your work. Maybe a new opportunity comes your way with a work, a promotion or something, and you think, no, I don't know if I could do that. Push yourself, get out of your comfort zone, and do the things that scare you. What happened to me recently with the TV show is that they asked me to do a live show and to co-host. One of the hosts of a live show was going to be ill, and my producer, he had faith in me that I could do it. I was scared. And I was ready to say no because a live show is totally different than a taped show. And my boys looked at me and my oldest son said to me, Mom, you know what you got to do? You got to face your fear and do it anyway. And my younger son said, Mom, you only live once. You just got to do it. And I laughed because I thought, well, I've taught you guys well. So I'll leave you with that. If there's something in your life that you're feeling hesitant about, then just push yourself a little bit further because chances are you'll surprise yourself at how great you feel when you accomplish it. And it will be the jumping point for you to take on other challenges in your life. That's it today. I hope this has been helpful to you. I am always looking for moms to be on the podcast. If you're listening to this and you know a mom who would love to be on the show, has some great stories and life experience to share, please nominate them. There's tons of great ways to get in touch with me. You can get on our Facebook page. That's Everyday Rockstar Moms. You can email me directly at drm@drmelissalongo.com. You can check us out on iTunes, subscribe, get on the list so that you don't miss an episode. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time.